Something I've come to realize with time is most people do not want to be saved. People think I preach when it's really advice of me trying. I feel I know the path to re-empowerment and even liberation if you want to get to the spiritual side of things. So, from the ground up, anything that I try to preach to anybody is about re-empowerment and personal development. So I tried to save my friends, who I'm going to be distancing myself a lot from now, as I've seen the contrast of what real friends look like. And I can't believe I got so mired in like groupthink and low consciousness friend groups for so many years. And I think recently, having taken a step back from that stuff so heavily, I'm very alone these days. I don't communicate with anybody other than at my retail job. So why are you listening to me if I work in retail, if I'm a wage slave? Well, I won't be soon, and I promise that, because this is exactly what I'm speaking about. I often say these days that success is a choice. And what I mean is that you have to mobilize yourself to get on the path of saying, I'm not willing to settle for what the system somewhat sells you or proposes. Now, it's not just the system, so I'm going to have a fat video coming very soon, which will likely be the channel trailer for my channel. And it's basically going to be a big fuck off rant of why society and our culture and this big fuck off grid that we live in is a system designed on purpose to rob your attention, rob your time, rob your individual empowerment, as they want you to think that you're free, but they also would like you to cooperate for what is necessary to be a cog in the machine of the society so that we can all live. You know, you have responsibilities. So there's that, which is somewhat laying out why it's easy to be a victim to the society. Now, when that video comes, don't think that I'm just making a big fuck off rant to blame society. Yes, of course, it is designed, for example, social media is full of red herrings, our civilization, that capture your attention because your attention is the product. You become the product. And it's a consumer society built on capitalism, so people profit from sheep. And this goes to what I started the video with, is most people do not want to be saved. So those who do reach the top of the ladder, so to speak, profit and use the sheep as products, the consumers. Those who do not really cooperate at all in this society and just consume on the sofa, media, food, entertainment. And I mean, I'm trying to make the list more diverse, but that's really all it comes to. They go to their shitty job, and if you want, look, I ain't going to blame you ultimately. This is the thing, most people want to be sheep. And okay, be sheep if you will. And then this leaves room for those to rise above, to lead and be visionaries for the sheep. Or not even, people don't want the visionaries. They don't want an empowering life. They don't want to take the responsibility. A lot of people, and I won't go into this exact story right now, but I will into the future, even if people are suffering unbearably, and you propose a new paradigm, maybe health. I've had many instances where people reject the new paradigm and actually get offended that you would challenge their paradigm, like they want to hold on to what they thought was the case. So they would rather be a victim than take responsibility. because that's it. If you're a victim, you don't have to take responsibility. And this goes to what I was saying earlier about, yes, society is a big fuck off trap, and they do, those capitalists at the top do want you to be a cog in a machine. And if I touch on this a little bit, the way I see it is it's a big fuck off grid, a lot of it, and they don't want you to be empowered. They don't. It is somewhat as like a zero-sum game. There is finite space for those to rise to the top for the most part. And it's my mission to really ultimately become, not necessarily physically escape the grid, but to become dependent. So I don't have to rely on the government's taps, which I don't anyway. I don't drink from the fucking tap. And that's another thing. People like are very, like, I brought loads of bottles of water recently, and someone who I won't name was like, "Oh, you drink a lot of bottles of water, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I just don't drink from the tap, you know, because they put fluoride and chlorine in it." And she was like rolling her eyes. I'm like, "Why?" And the same person also said to me, I said, "It's my mission to escape these places, which is the 9-to-5 work environment." She was like, "How old are you?" 19. She was like, "You're thinking about that stuff at this age?" Like, but she was almost like queasy about it. Like, "Why am I concerned about the tap? Oh no." Rolling her eyes, thinking I'm crazy. Why do I want to escape the... I don't know, it's just... I don't know, people are just... But the system is very dependent on most of the population to be dependent on the products. Like, the consumer society. Like, you notice how the adverts actually diminish the customer in order to put the product on a pedestal. I actually watched one, Terence McKenna has an amazing video about just that, which I'll link below. And I saw an advert on TV not long after that of this woman going to work on the bus, depressed as fuck. "Oh, going to work. And I don't blame her. It's hard to keep your fucking hopes up when you're literally fucking on the go non-stop in a lot of toxic environments with artificial lighting, on minimum wage. And by the end of your shift, you're often literally fucking on your last legs. And then you don't have any room to actualize your potential because you're out of energy and you don't want to do anything other than plug into the pleasures because you're so stripped of your energy. And I don't want to like just go into some fat ramble, but this is the way our society works, is we don't want to grow people's authenticity. We tell you be yourself. I can't be myself. They'll tell me to be myself. I'm only happy when I'm myself. But you know what happens when I be myself? I lose my fucking job. Not necessarily, but because of what I dabble in a lot of is this very radical psychedelic paradigm that's outside of most people's shit, is I'm demonized for it because people have this very culturally conditioned notion that it's just that it's a drug and drugs make you crazy, and most people are unthinking and they avoid truth. And it goes again, people don't want to be empowered. They'd rather be a victim than take responsibility. So we don't, what we tell people to do is straighten out, fit into some category. You know, we get the child is about exploration, not explanation. That's what something I come up with when, especially working in retail a lot, you see parents getting embarrassed of their children's exploration. They're like, "Will you stop fucking around and straighten up?" And because everyone thinks we're weird, and oh, they sure know how to embarrass you, don't they, these children? It's like, no, you're the one who's projecting this cringiness because you've built some idea of how you should be, and then you project it onto everybody else. Therefore, when people make you uncomfortable, they're the problem. Because you built some fucking frame about how you should behave because of everyone else's frame. And it's like this echo chamber of insecurities and what you should and shouldn't be. But they kind of like... Parents always moan at their children so much. And it was one of the things that I really dislike most is... It's like they keep diminishing the child's natural tendency for exploration and try to straighten them out. So we put the children through the fucking education machine and they come out all straight in their categories. There's very limited, finite categories of what you can be in the education system. And I guess it's better than nothing, but what I'm saying is we don't put an awful lot of value on the children's like individual gifts. And it's actually, so me and Key Parks, who I'll link in the description as well, very like-minded as well, good friend of mine, we were speaking about just this, and we were speaking about how Ram Dass, if you're familiar, I recommend you get familiar with him. He started earning money from doing public speakings the way that I do, but on the internet, and people paid to go to his lectures, and that's how he made a living, and this is what he thrived in, and this is actually what he found his life purpose in. So instead of straightening people out and going, look, you have to work, so shut the fuck up and do your job. Right, I understand I have to give to society. I can't just ingest resources and then just sit on my arse and do fuck all. Even though somewhat you can in a way, because nature just provides. And it's sad that we're charging a fee for all of the things God granted for free, and we're lost out. I don't know, I can't remember. Inspector Veg, this don't make no sense. Music video, watch it. It's very good. Please. But yeah, it's like yes, you have to work, right? And this is what a lot of the spiritual people say, and a lot of people in general. And so this goes in. I know I'm just rambling, but I'll tie it together. So my job now that I work in retail, it lacks connection with my life purpose. Actualize.org speaks a lot about life purpose, and he says how but your life purpose is like how you orientate yourself. And I used to think, when I first heard of life purpose about a year ago, I was like, I don't care if life has a purpose, you know, it's all meaningless, that's okay with me. Yes, ultimately, but I got it confused with the existential kind of thing. You want to have a life purpose in terms of like, what are you here to do? So if I'm here to bring about, hopefully, powerful teachings, powerful concepts, connect the dots of other teachings, originate my own ideas more, which I've got to get a lot more into, instead of just parroting everything I've been consuming for years, which I feel like is a lot what I do. But at least I'm starting to notice it more. But regardless, you can still make a very successful teachings just in this echo chamber of other teachings. But yeah, that's my life purpose, I think, so far as I'm aware, is I want to cultivate just goodness. I find, so I'm talking about my job, so I'm a very naturally, happily, cheerful person. And this lady said to me yesterday when I was behind the till, "Oh, you're a cheerful chap, ain't you?" Because I just looked fucking depressed. And I was depressed. You know why? Yeah, sure, it's a story in the mind. But look, if I'm literally stood at this fucking till, non-stop, serving kids poison, and it's not about that, it's just I'm literally stood there getting drained. And this is what I'm saying, is that if your role and obligation in society isn't hinged on your life purpose, like Ram Dass giving us lectures, like Alan Watts does the same, he does lectures, people donate, and he makes a living, and this is where he finds his fulfillment. And this is what we should encourage in children. And I know I've completely just gone completely off topic, but it's still powerful, so shut the fuck up and listen. You know what I'm saying, we all have individual gifts, but we often just give people labels, disorders, autism, and all this, like, yeah, sure, you can have autism, but I just mean we often treat it as this, like, a problem, when we don't harness the individual. Maybe autism is a problem, like, to an extent, I'm sure it is, but a lot of these people have amazing gifts. Again, with, Terence McKenna has a fat video on schizophrenia and the fear of madness, and in that he speaks about, and this is something I speak about a lot, is our culture will put you in a madhouse if you have schizophrenic tendencies. They'll give you labels, they'll give you artificial class A medication, which is another point I'm gonna have to make a big fuck off video about. Well, look, stop giving children drugs. This is a very important. I know I have many friends who have permanently fucked their brain chemistry, or permanently, but they're hooked on Class A's from the age of 16, the age of 15. You know why? Because they felt sad. And I'm sure, like, it's very easy to get hold of these as well. ADHD medication, you'll be surprised. I've spoke to a lot of people. I can't emphasize it enough. I don't feel like I'm saying this with enough emotion. Stop giving children Class A's. They're showing symptoms from eating poison their whole life, refined sugars, aspartame, all this. Bro, you go into the vast majority of local little shops these days, in the UK especially, but just in general, even the most healthiest shit in there is thoroughly sprayed with pesticides. And then when this, you know, like all of your serotonin is produced in your gut, and then when your gut is full of artificial food that did not even exist 100 years ago, and then you show symptoms for that, and then psychedelics are illegal, and then you have this big fucking grid of everyone who's dependent on the system and then relies on the system of the big pharmaceutical companies to feed you, to feed children Class A's so that they can no longer feel sad. Feeling sad is normal. This is like you know, you don't want to just cover it up, and they don't encourage like deep exploration into your traumas, into your mind, through maybe breathwork, psychedelics, and meditation. I don't know why, really. It's like our whole culture is, and then it goes very deep. Russell Brand has a lot of very good videos on why psychedelics are illegal, but it's actually, that's one of the main things. It's like there's a massive renaissance of psychedelics for mental health. We can't research them because they're illegal, even though these other cultures have known about this shit since the beginning of time. And then we fucked everyone's health from the ground up, because it's very difficult to get anything organic these days, and it's quite bizarre how it all works. Because, like, yeah, we live on this grid, but there's no like farm or organic food. You get it all from like these big fuck off corporations, and it's all like a ladder, and then all of the packaging is deceiving, so you're literally getting deceived by this packaging that makes it look healthy, and then when you eat it, it fucks up your chemistry and causes emotional instability and shit, and then we feel so fucked. Yeah, so a lot of these people that maybe they'll go to the fucking doctor and go, look, give me the tablets or I'm going to kill myself. Alright, but where's the option for the psilocybin and the mushroom tab, and then there isn't any. So that's it. I'm sorry, I know I'm going off like fuck, but stop for fuck's sake. And I'm gonna make like much bigger videos about all of these topics. I've completely lost my train of thought. This is something I'm gonna have to get better as that. So, but I feel like it's all important. So yeah, there's that. So so this lady's asking me, oh, I'm a happy chap, ironically, and that's what I'm saying. I am naturally happy, but when I'm pressed into this artificial lighting fucking grid thing on minimum wage, and they don't want to pay me for 6 fucking weeks, yeah, 6 weeks, I'm just getting taken a piss out of so much, and so are all of we. What do you mean a month in hand? Are you taking a fucking piss? What is this? They do it on purpose, because when Putin bombs us, they're just gonna fucking run off. They ain't gonna be there to give us our month in hand, and then not only that, you're waiting for your money, and then they go last minute, oh, by the way, it's a 2 weeks takeover to next month, so you're always waiting for 2 weeks pay, and they do it on purpose, because the later they have to give it to you, the more leeway they have to fuck you over. So this is what I mean. A lot of it is a trap, and a lot of it's built on greed, profit, and a good way to validate that is just the food. The food is deceiving, and it's poison, and no one tells you this stuff. So, and then they get you addicted to it because it's full of sugar, which is just a drug. If you try and quit sugar, watch your energy levels, mate. Natural sugar, fine, but if you quit like refined sugars, and mate, your fucking ups and downs, twists and turns, you don't even know you're addicted to a lot of the stuff you're addicted to. And yeah, a lot of it's deceiving. They prey on you for profit. Andrew Tate, I watched a short. The reason why there's no high-speed rails in the US, if I'm saying it correctly, and it is the case if you research into it, is because of the oil and fuel companies have such massive money influence that to have these high-speed rails would diminish the profits of the fuel corporations, which are destroying the planet. So that they have like such a big influence all throughout. I don't remember exactly how they say it, but that's why there isn't, because that's how it's all built. It's all built on greed. Charlie Chaplin's Great Dictator's Speech is a very good one. I highly recommend you check out. So the reason why I'm depressed at my job, even though I try to be cheerful, that every once in a while I feel like I barely have a choice. You know what happens to me when a child comes to the desk with a big, and like there's this one who comes in very consistently, like every day, and I actually, well, and the thing is, I'm not allowed to warn people about the poison they're eating when I'm the one selling it to them, because I'll lose my job, of course. Fair enough. Not really fair enough. I mean, I understand how someone wouldn't want me working there. So I don't warn people, I guess. Because I can't. Because then I'll lose my shit. So, but when it's children coming to the desk, right, with, like, a fucking 1.5 litre bottle of Lucozade, and he literally looks like 9 years old, and I have to sell it to him, and if I say anything, I get punished. And then people go, oh, you sure love hearing your spouse speak, stop preaching. It's like, I'm trying to save you. And then, well, why, if you don't care about your health and you don't understand why I think it's such a problem, then you are simply not awake to what I'm speaking of, because so many people are suffering, especially when you get older. Think about your grandparents and that. A lot of them have all sorts of very strange things that you don't get when you're so young, so people don't understand why it's a problem, and people think caring about your health is gay and all this sort. So yes, I'm not very cheerful right now, ladies, because every time that kid comes to the desk, my blood fucking boils, and it's literally on my lips saying, don't drink that shit, no one's telling you that. And then Halloween, I know I'm just going off on a fat thing, but Halloween is just like, let's go take your kids out. My child will never engage in the traditional Halloween. And a lot of people will, like I said at the beginning, because they do not care. The reason why everyone drinks and eats this shit is not because the government is forcing it on us, it's because we choose to eat it. And because the government is forcing it on us. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was an agenda to destroy our health. As Inspector Veg states, like, sick people are easy to control. They make us sick, they create the problem, and then they have the solution, which is not really the solution. Big Pharma. And the whole thing is like a money, and I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, the way with the railway systems work and or whatever in the US, it's like, it's like we're left on some fucking grid. You know what Boris Johnson said when he got kicked out of office? Or when he resigned? But he basically got kicked out. Because as soon as everyone found out that he fucking was partying throughout coronavirus, the rules that he enforced, telling us to be scared of each other, and social distance, and don't touch no one and shit, all of that, sorry, I was thinking about actually making the proper full-fledged list, but this is a lot of the energy I'm going to be bringing in the channel trailer. It's like, I'm just going to be spitting pure facts about how it's all bollocks. But they were telling us to stay home and wash our hand with the fluoride and chlorine tap water that goes into your skin and straight into your blood. And then use the hand sanitizer. My dad used to fucking, like, we used to walk in and out of this hotel during Corona, and there was like this mandatory hand sanitizer everywhere you go. And, like, you walk into any building and they're like, I went to go get an eye test and they're like, here you go, get that out of my skin, do you know what's in that shit? Like, and then it's just like, and then the deodorant and shit, like, everyone uses is like full of butane, and it's like, and then all the breast cancer cases have got, what's it called in it? Oh god, parabens, I think, which is just found in common deodorants, and it's like everything you put on your skin goes through your body, is what I learned from Alex Sedlak, another woke individual. And it's just very backwards. And then Boris and everyone's fucking partying while they're fear-mongering about us to all stay indoors, and they didn't tell us fuck all about the immune system, yeah? And then And then when Boris gets caught out, obviously the public's not happy with him. Not that anyone actually voted him in the fucking first place. Which, I mean, guidelines, sure, YouTube, yeah, I guess, so, I mean, wait, did we even vote him in? It's just, it's funny that actually nobody respects the people in office. These faces just appear on the TV, and, like, I don't really buy any of it at all, to be honest. And then, when Boris got kicked out of office, basically, because he just stopped showing up in the media after this party shit for months, and then he just left, as he said, I'm like one of those, like, you know when they shoot the rockets into space, apparently? I mean, sure, I'm not... but they shoot the rocket into space and they have, like, a carriage, like a extra like a fuel cartridge on the side, and then it fucking comes off of the rocket and just crashes, like, into the fucking middle of the ocean or some shit, just because they don't want that excessive weight once the fuel is being used. Boris referred to himself as one of those. And the reason he done that is because he's just taking the piss out of everybody. There's all this controversy, and now he's just going to go and fuck off on some island that is completely outside of the grid. So this is what I believe somewhat they are doing, and it's not... I don't believe in believing, right? But it would not surprise me, and there's a lot of people that just like when you get deeper into it, like... It seemed wiser to not suppose it's all a conspiracy. There's not anyone running the world. It has a life of its own. I'm all for that stuff for the most part. But if there was an agenda to destroy our health, they are doing a very good job with keeping all of the healthy drugs illegal, perpetuating alcohol and cigarettes, and pummeling us with these adverts that just make you reliant on toxic food. The tap water's poison, and it's like they do not care. And I do not think they do care. What was I saying last night? That's right. So they're out there on their fucking private island, right? And as long as the grid matrix is still pummeling taxes in their direction, and they're still able to fucking... Boris is able to sit there eating his mince pies for free, then... they're not concerned. That's why it's such a mess, and it's so obviously, blatantly a load of bollocks, because they're not concerned, potentially, I'm not saying any of this is set in stone, but they're not concerned with what's going on with us, and they're not concerned with making a brilliant image, because, as far as they're aware, like, they don't need to deceive us too greatly, as long as, for the foreseeable future and for their lifespan, they're going to be able to capitalise on what they've got going, which is a system of wage slavery. Minimum wage, they squeeze you, they pay you in a month in hand, and they do this to everybody, and then when they tell you that you can't leave your house anymore, because of their views on the microbiome and this... COVID, and they don't tell you nothing about the immune system or the electric plant list or nothing like that. They tell you to stay home, and because we're so dependent, so many people are so dependent on the pharmaceutical industry and shit, and they're so disempowered, and they're just a cog in a machine so thoroughly, because they haven't had no awakening for so long, because they're just born, they're told how meaningless everything is. Like the scientific paradigm sort of shit, you're just a rock hurling through space, going fucking in a random direction, and like any minute we can just smash into some fucking asteroid. And then they just make all of the actual good plants and real healing medicines illegal, so that you have no choice but to depend on these things. And then so it is like some big fuck off trap. So people are so hopelessly dependent on the system that they'll do anything to protect it. And then when you... And this is why, like, you can't change it, you know, you have to just stay on the treadmill of... And everyone knows it's bollocks, is what I mean, it's just so painful. Like, no, I don't really meet any human in the flesh ever that respects anybody in office. And that's what blows my mind, I just don't understand how they get in there in the first place. But, like, everyone has this limiting belief that you can't do anything about it. All this stuff that I talk about, like, things that are just way beyond me. People are like, why are you even voicing it? You know, everyone knows there's nothing you can do, and everyone who tries to do anything about it, you just get killed. That's what I've been told my whole life, like, you have to stay on the treadmill. Everyone thinks that you have to stay on the treadmill. But if we just all collectively walk off the treadmill... I can't click my fingers very well. Yeah, I don't know, I'm sorry for going off on a tangent. That was a bit of a madness. But I'll tell you why most people don't want to do anything about it, and why you can't get off the treadmill, and why no one wants to sort out their health and take responsibility, like I say, is most people want to be sheep. So let me wrap it up back to the beginning, the best I can. I'm sorry if I missed any points. I just, the way that I speak is just a train wreck that just goes forward into infinity and just fucking spirals, so I need to get better at sticking on topic. But most people do not want to be re-empowered. They actually want to be sheep. And this leaves room for people like me and Key Parks and everyone who I've been associating with recently to rise above and become visionaries and leaders potentially, because most people do not actually want to take that big empowering step. I don't know why. I think that a lot of it is fear, a lot of it's cringe, like the way I am on the internet now. I do not care. I was saying to Key Parks and all them lot I was with the other day, I said, even if there was the most embarrassing video of me in the history of the world, and the example I gave them was like in the middle of the city on cat naked having a wank in the street. I said just share that. Share it if you be, because the idea that I care about what others perceive of me is not the case. The only reason I ever do is because it's necessary for my survival. I cannot say exactly whatever I want because I'm still hinging off of my father quite a bit these days. Therefore I can't just literally do anything. But if I can become sovereign and re-empowered with myself so much and not dependent on the grid and their food and their medicine and all that stuff, that is when you can. So what you're seeing here is quite mediated, but that is necessary because I'm not sovereign at the moment. So most people do not want to be re-empowered. Most people are happy with being sheep, is what I've had to realise. And this goes back to the beginning of the video. I've tried to save my old friends for ages. I've had conversations, they understand what I'm saying, like an hour-long conversation I had with someone not long ago, but people are very slow and they don't actually take any action. And so who are my friends that I'm speaking of? Just the typical fucking roadmen geezers who just hang out on the street smoking weed and that, like everyone's just doing fuck all. I used to be one of them. I used to associate with them a lot. And then recently, especially, I see how that kind of groupthink and everyone's normal paradigm is not something that I want to associate with really much more. Actualized.org has like a two hour video I've watched like twice at this point called How Socialization Makes You Stupid. I felt this very much yesterday, I can't lie, because I went and socialized with two people of this nature who are like, they don't have any value of their health. They just kind of bounce from pleasure to pleasure and they don't really have any life purpose that is orientating themselves. You know what I mean? Like I say, everyone's just working these jobs that you're kind of like forced to, instead of what I was saying with the children, instead of like squeezing the child into a box and molding them so it fits your society, therefore if that child makes you uncomfortable, like if they have schizophrenic tendencies and all that, like I say, we give them a label, we tell them they're a problem. But they're not the problem just because they don't fit into this society. This is a very important point. You are not the problem just because people have told you you're the problem because you are struggling to adapt and fit in to a heavily sick society. I'll go on this a little bit and then I'll wrap it up. So it's like what I was going to say earlier, I realised I forgot, is like, so our culture tells you you're sick, you're a problem, you're not fitting in, and you need to straighten out. Other cultures, like psychedelic cultures, they turn you into visionaries and leaders a lot of the time. They will find your particular mental disorder or mental health or whatever, and they will let it blossom and flower. So instead of telling someone, you need to adapt responsibilities, you need to... Yes, I understand it. You have to have discipline and you have to overall be good for your community. But the idea that you have to do it in the way that we do it is not the case. Like I say, Ram Dass, Alan Watts, they do the lectures, which is their life purpose, and then they... So I hope you're getting an idea of what I've been saying here. So stop squeezing the child into your pre-existing paradigm and let the child, who is a glowing, authentic being of pure exploration and curiosity, find his own path, and then see how we can incorporate that child's gift and tick into it. So I believe I have a gift that could be actualized, and people are most likely, especially people I've been finding recently in the flesh as well and on the internet, they want to hear what I have to say. And it's not just what I have to say, but the reason why I haven't said half the shit that I even think is possible is because I have so much cultural conditioning of what is possible. We think so much stuff is far-fetched, but you can't manifest what you can't conceive of. And this is why psychedelics, this is why the world is so fucking boring, is because we have, like, the House of Parliament would disintegrate immediately if you brought psilocybin mushrooms or 5-MeO-DMT onto the premises. Literally, the House of Parliament is just the pinnacle of sobriety. And this is the thing, we hate on all these people who are mad like me, but hold on, we've seen where sobriety gets us, we've seen where straightness gets us. It gets into heavy rationality, greed, pragmatism, and male ego dominance, which is this heavy ego game, which is spread out across this grid that just divides and dominates. And if you're so egoic, like you don't have the tools of psychedelics to dissolve the ego, we all know ego death is where you find happiness. That's the only key to find happiness. And then psychedelics induce ego death very commonly. And then ego death entails that there's no separation really anymore like that, and you see the bigger value outside of your subjective pleasure. I have a video called Human Pleasure Vehicle, and another one of the same nature, like warning of the trap of comfort and complacency. Is like, I don't have any value. When I'm in a super high state of consciousness, pleasure is not what I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with the value that I bring about objectively outside, kind of like the value and the health is far better than pleasure. So I'm not concerned with pleasure, I'm much more concerned with meaning and purpose, especially in high states of consciousness. So, but most people are, like I say, comfortable in their 9 to 5. Look, I'm sorry if I haven't followed every point exactly, because I often forget what I was saying, because I like, before I went back into the way that our culture approaches mental health and stuff, I was saying something else, and I think I've kind of forgot what I was fucking talking about a bit. But look, I'm not gonna fucking I hope you understand the bigger picture of what I'm saying. But it's like, most people are comfortable in their wage slave jobs decently enough, because they still get to go home, they still plug into the pleasures, they can still bear going to work. But there's like this crying soul within a lot of people that just gets burned to a crisp. And this has actually been my life mission, is I feel this like authentic soul within me. And I can feel it getting diminished more when I get caged in wage slave environments. So I'm actually incapable of holding a regular job in this sense. Same with any school. Any school I've ever been put in, my parents are very familiar with this pattern. I cannot do it. Eventually, after a year, once I figure out how the system works, I turn it into a fucking playground. I could have used it much more strategically, but I'm actually happy I didn't learn the way that people wanted me to. So I went through a phase. So I threw away all of my school. I didn't do my GCSEs. I got kicked out of every school. Halfway through year 10, halfway through my fucking mock exams, the pre-exams before the actual ones, I got removed from the final school. And then I spent my final years in some volunteer warehouse that my school paid me to go to, because I was just not able to morph into this system, because I'm a fucking human being who is not willing to get fucking compressed and indoctrinated. So and then it wasn't long ago I was thinking, wow, I kind of wish I actually approached school more strategically, because, and I do still think that, but I'm happy that I didn't go there, and I actually barely listened to any teacher ever, because a lot of the teachers, you'll have a business teacher teaching you about business who has never run a business. Same with philosophy. They teach you about philosophy, but it's not actually philosophy. It's just mental masturbation. Or not philosophy, psychology. I'm sure a lot of it was actually decent information that I could have used more strategically. But I'm happy I didn't, because the education system is fake. They taught me the food pyramid. I remember. Who designed the food pyramid? I said this before it was realised. I was like, who designed the food pyramid? I'll tell you who designed the food pyramid. Marketers. Jordan Peterson has a fucking fat-off video. So it wasn't made by science. It was made by marketers. And the idea, I think that it was carbs that was meant to be fundamental to our diet, and then the whole food pyramid is actually responsible for the health epidemic that we see before us. And then this is an important point, right? I'm running out of storage, so I'm going to have to be quick. And then we wonder about things like corona. So I'm not denying COVID's existence, community guidelines, before you pummel me with your bullshit and remove me and then censor me. And another thing is the hashtag psilocybin and magic mushroom is censored on Instagram and TikTok. Why? This is pure insanity. And then so we wonder why there's like COVID and that, but we're all getting perpetuated by the TV to live in fear. And then the solution to this is masks, but restricting our breathing and fucking and poison hand sanitizer. Oh, I'm running out of storage. And then nothing about the immune system, right? So what I'm saying is most people don't want to be fucking empowered, so most people do not care, and you can't save your friends because they don't actually want to be re-empowered, and they avoid truth because they are decently comfortable. Check out a video that I have on my channel very recently called Closed-Minded NPC Gets Destroyed Over Psychedelic Stigma. You see how people just refuse to actually want to care for, so people do not have intrinsic value in truth and intelligence. This is the main thing. I love truth. I love ditching my ideologies and progressing it into the future and realizing everything I thought was the case was bollocks. It's very fulfilling. I love getting my mind fucked with in that sense and like realizing new, bigger, more absolute truths. But most people are very egoically attached to their old ideology and dogma and old truths. So you can't fucking save people. So just to wrap it up, ultimately now is just look, I try to save my old friends, the Jeffreys, and then there's the Adonis, if you're familiar with Hamza. Jeffrey is the one who doesn't engage with society and just is a consumer, and basically it's you who has to make the decision. It's an all or nothing game. Welcome to reality, welcome to the game of life. The biggest game there is. The game of consciousness. What are you going to settle for? Are you going to be a victim? Are you going to make excuses? Are you going to shut the fuck up? And are you going to become the best of your potential? Something I realised recently is you reach a point that I've reached now at a rate of personal development where I just want to go faster and faster and faster. Where you keep gaining momentum and the snowball builds and it's rolling downhill faster or uphill, whatever the fuck. And you never want it to end. So you can only save yourself. Don't be a victim. Are you going to be a Jeffrey or are you going to be Adonis? That's it. I feel like the message overall is clear. I feel like I said some very important things today. And my content is going to be getting much better. So join the fucking Discord and hit subscribe, you